But what I do is I take the money I earn from my books, kind of add it on to that, and every month I've been giving the bulk of my money to the printer. The reason is because I'm trying to get it down, whittled down to less than 1,000 before the end of the year.
Oh, great, great. How many books do you have to print at a time? 5,000?
No, a little over 1,000.
Oh, over 1,000. Okay.
And
that's a pretty large run, nonetheless. I mean,
yeah, it is. But it takes me a few years to sell them, and then I see that money. Some of it has to go back to the printer, and some of it goes to my living expenses.
Yeah.
And
I totally understand that.
When I go,
I'm sweating now.
I like to eat at the all-you-can-eat buffets. Before I used to go to free lunch, and then for a while there, when I come into Iowa City, I'd eat at those East Indian buffets downtown. Oh, delicious! The curries.
Yeah.
Yes, masala, man. Masala is great. Yeah.
There was one down on, what was it, Washington Street, and then there was one up
there. Still is. The India Cafe is at Washington, and masala is right across from Rogers.
And they were good to me. They were polite.
Oh yeah. I mean, Indian people, God. I mean, it's very hard to find an impolite Indian person. I mean, very.
That's why I was surprised when I found out all these horrible conflicts they were having with Pakistan. I thought the Indians were peace-loving people. No, not entirely.
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, there's groups. I mean, you can't define the American people by the few, people who want to tear down buildings with bombs and kill 265 people. You can't. There's everybody everywhere in the whole world. So you have to,
You know who I met back in the 1990s, about 15 years ago or so. I was up in. I heard that Bob Keeshan was going to speak at the McAllister College, St. Paul McAllister College Chapel. Now, do you know who Bob Keeshan was?
No.
Bob Keeshan in the 1950s was Clarabelle the Clown on the Howdy Doody show. And he went on to become Captain Kangaroo.
Wow.
And
you don't know any of those shows,
no,
do you?
I
well,
don't.
Captain Kangaroo
I've heard of them, but I don't know.
Was a children's show.
Yeah.
And he was signing his book, which you can probably still get. And after the line faded out, he stood up, and there was probably not much more than a dozen or so of us sitting in these pews. And he stood up and said, "Well, what should we do? Hang out?" And each one of us got to talk to him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, there was a hobo up in Britt named Slow Motion Shorty, and he said he got up to run for Hobo King some years back, and he said, "I'm the only hobo ever shook hands with Leo DeRocher, the ball player," and he won. And I told the captain this story, and I stood up and I said, "So I'd like to be the first hobo to have shook hands with Captain